quite nice having that moon out. It's lighting all the ground up, so I've not had to get a torch out yet. So you got the top of the old man here, and you get the moon here. We're going to do another editing video today, and this time we're going to look at a picture from a nighttime adventure up to the top of Coniston Old. It was quite a snowy night, and the sun had just set, and the moon was starting to rise on the left hand side, and it was quite a windy night. So for the setup for this one, we used the 5D Mark III with the 24-70. I don't think I used the polarizer, so it's just the lens on its own. And then settings wise for this, we're at 10 seconds at f8 and ISO 500, and we're at 24mm. I remember at the time when I was taking this, it was a lot windier than I expected it to be, so that's why the ISO is a little bit higher than normal. I think I tried about 100 or 50, but it was just a bit too much of an aggressive wind. So we'll have a quick assessment of the raw image and then work out what we'd do with it. So I've just opened it up in Photoshop, and I think looking at it initially, I think it's a bit dark. I like the sky area, so I think that area is okay, but I'm not too keen on this area. I think it just needs to have the exposure increased a little bit. And looking at it, there might be a bit of distortion. It looks a bit like it's arching a bit like that. Like this water down here doesn't look quite right. I think the first thing I want to do with this is enable profile corrections, which is like a lens correction. And just clicking that, you can see it makes a big difference. And it looks like it's straightening out them lines a little bit. Coniston looks straighter, and it doesn't look as dark as it did before. It still looks a little bit dark, but it's a step in the right direction. And then we'll remove chromatic aberrations as well. I don't think there was any on this picture, but it's like a purple line around the edge that you sometimes get. I haven't noticed any, but we'll click it anyway. And some of you might have noticed the moon here. It's got that red circle. I click on this tab here, and like in the last video when we were altering the whites, like when we pressed Alt and slid it to the right and had all the information pop up where it was blown out, that's just like a permanent version of it. So I like to keep that checked. If you do this one, that's with the shadows, and it'll show up blue. You can see it down here. We'll leave it on for now as well. It might help explain things better. So for this one, we'll start with the contrast again. And like the woodland video, I'm just going to slide it left to right, and we can work out what bits we like about less contrast and what we like about more contrast, and then find where we want it. So sliding it all the way to the left, it helps bring out them shadows a little bit and brings out some of the details in this area down here. Whereas if we slide it all the way to the right, it's making the shadows worse. You can see all the bits where there's no detail in the shadows, and this area down here doesn't look as nice. I think I do prefer it on the snow though. It's bringing out those details where there's footprints. You can see where someone's walked. So I'm going to add a little bit. We'll stick it at 5 for now. You can either use that slider, or you can click on the box and type it in. And then we'll move on to highlights, and that's mainly going to affect this area here, the sky, and it'll affect the water and this snowy area. So I've got a feeling we'll want to increase it, but we'll decrease it, for example, and it's made that sunset better. And sliding it to the right has made the snow better and made that sunset worse. I think what I'm going to do with this photo is I'm going to fix this bottom area first, and then we'll use an ND grad to fix that top area. So we'll just worry about this area for now and then worry about that later. So I'm going to increase it a little bit. You can see it on this area here. So I want it to be a bit of a harder line between the snow and the rocky area behind. I'll take that one to about 30. And then if we move on to the shadows, I'm pretty sure we want to go to the right, but for the example's sake, yeah, it's just made this area a lot worse. It might have made the sky better though. It's made it a bit darker, and it's made the sunset a bit better. But if we drag it all the way to the right, we're getting all this detail. You can see right down onto the water. You can see the houses. It's going to be really grainy if we keep it all the way up though. So we'll probably keep this one around 40. I have a feeling we're going to fix the snowy area with the white tab, which we're going to do now. So if you hold down the Alt button and drag it to the right, so this area is a sunset, we'll not worry about that. Probably about 60, 50. Okay, so we'll put that about 50. Then if we move on to the blacks, so that's going to be this dark area in here. It will also affect the snow, but we'll see how it looks now. So all the way to the left is making this area way worse. It's made that sky really blue, and I can't think of anything good to say about that. Then all the way to the right, it's bringing out the whites in the snow, and similarly to the shadows, it's bringing out this area. And there isn't any shadows that have got no detail in now. There's no blue areas from this tab. So I think we do want to increase that. I don't want to take it too far, because I like having that contrast between the darks and the whites. But you lose it a little bit when it's too far. But I think somewhere around 60 is good. And then if we add a little bit of clarity to this now, I'm going to go to about 12. Yeah, we'll show you what it's like anyway. All the way down, it's just sort of out of focus and looks really fake. And all the way to the right, it looks really sort of grungy and kind of nasty. I like to be a bit more subtle with the clarity. And then now we're going to focus on this top area. I do also think the snow looks a bit blue, but we'll worry about that in a minute. We'll fix the big areas first. Now I'm going to move down to the tone curve, because we might be able to fix it with this. So the highlights is going to affect this area. I don't like that. We'll move on to the lights instead. Dragging it to the right is making the snow look nicer. Put that one about 40. Darks. do that on about plus 12. Shadows, plus 20. All of this is quite similar to this area. It's just helped boost it a little bit more. Now I was hoping we were going to be able to fix this area with these, but we'll use the ND grad. And I think what we're going to need to do is decrease the exposure a little bit and bring down the highlights. So we'll hold the shift button, click and drag it down. I'm going to make it quite big so it's quite a subtle transition. And we'll bring it down to about the horizon line or just below it. And it's bringing back some of this detail here. I think if we drop the whites down, no, I'm not keen on that. We'll drop down the exposure. Yeah, there we go. That's making it better. I don't like how it's affected this area. So what we can do is click on this range mask button, click on the colour and use this dropper. And if we select this area with the sky and the sunset, it should only affect the sky. You know, we'll do it down this side so we get more of the sunset. There we go. That's worked better. And you can see it's not really affected this area here, but we've still got the sunset glow. There's a few little blown out areas down there. So we'll drop that down a little bit. Now I still think it's a bit blue. So I think the best way to adjust that would be to come down to the luminance, and we'll use this blue slider. I think we need to take it to the right, but for the example, dragging it all the way to the left is making a big difference to the sky, and it's made the snow worse, and dragging it to the right has made the snow better. I think it might have made the moon worse though. It's like decreasing that saturation around it. So we'll just do this a little bit. The other way that you can do this actually is you can click on this tab, click on where you want to affect, and slide it up and down with the mouse, and it's actually affecting the purples as well. I think that's made the whites better though. We'll take that up to about 30. And I'm not massively keen on how dark the sky is. So we'll use another ND grad, and it's still got the settings in that we used before, but if you press the Alt button, it'll change the effect word there to reset. So we can tap that, and I'm going to increase the exposure a little. So holding the shift button, dragging that down, and that was way too much. We'll do it plus +10 or plus 15, and drag the blacks up a little bit. Looking at that from a distance, I'm pretty happy with that. The other thing I noticed when I was looking at this area over here is we've got some dust spots up in this area here. So I think the next thing we should do is go through and get rid of any of those. So the way that I do this is you press the Q button or this circle with the arrow next to it, and you've got the option between clone and heal, and we're going to use the heal button. The heal button takes the area that you want to fix and blends it with a different part of the image, and it usually makes a more natural result, whereas the clone tool, it's just like a straight copy. So I tend to use a heal button for most things. And then what we're going to do here is if you press T, it's going to bring up this toolbar, and you want to click on the visualize spots button, and you can see where all the dust spots are. So if we use the square brackets, we can make this bigger and smaller. So I just want it to be slightly bigger than that, and we're just going to quickly go through, clean up all of these. Now obviously the longer you spend on finding these, the better. This one doesn't actually look too bad. I cleaned my sensor a few weeks ago, and I don't really have to do this anymore. But all of these dark circles here, they're stars, so you don't need to worry about them. So if I was doing this for a print, I'd spend longer on that bit. I think I'm pretty happy with that. But that's the way that I'd approach editing this kind of picture. It's kind of hard to give you like a step-by-step guide because it varies massively depending on what the raw image is like and the conditions. It's like different every time. But working through it step by step like that, and say that I wanted to make it more contrasty now, it's easy to just go back, add a little bit more, or you can take it away and you can just fine tune it. So what I'd do now is I'd leave that for a few hours, then come back to it and see what I think, because you get sort of caught up in it. Like I'm happy with this now, but it's possible that I could come back to this later and be like, have a totally different opinion on it. So I'd hold back from publishing it anywhere until you're completely satisfied. And with the nighttime ones, I've found it's better to slightly overexpose it on the computer, because when you print it, it'll come out differently. Because the laptop and computer screens are backlit, it's different to being on paper. So if you are going to print the pictures, I'd have a bit of an experiment and order some sample pictures that are a bit smaller than what you need. Well, you could order the same size, but it's going to cost you more money. But yeah, that's my approach to doing this kind of thing. Hopefully you found it helpful. Like last time, if there's any pictures that you want to see edited, leave a comment and I'll see what I can do. And if you want to help support and make more videos like this, I have prints and greetings cards. This is one of the pictures that's available over on adamcapper.co.uk. I'll link that down below. And yeah, I'll see you next time.